Kravitz. If you have not followed his Triple H horse racing podcast, you're missing out. It's one of the best podcasts in the country.
Good evening and welcome to the HHH Racing Podcast. I'm your proud host, Howard Kravitz, along with co-hosts of Picks and Ponies, Pete Visco and Paul Halloran. It is, of course, the beginning of Derby Week as we are live here Sunday evening, and we are here tonight to discuss the top 10 most fancied, well-bet horses in this year's Kentucky Derby. Please make sure you hit that subscribe button on the bottom right-hand side of the screen, the notification bell on the top right, and smash that like button below the video player. You can listen to us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and Anchor. We also have a fantastic website, hhhracingpodcast.com. We're going to talk about our power picks and a few other things that we have going on this week. Pete and Paul, how you guys doing tonight?
Gentlemen, what's up?
A lot of homework to do.
A lot of work. I am actually almost done with the whole Friday card, partially because I'm a very busy man and I've got work obligations, of course, and podcast obligations, and try to have a life as well. So I'm trying to get as much done early in the week as possible. It's going to be, the cards are out. It's going to be incredible, guys. We have a plethora of shows coming up right here on the HHH Racing Podcast, mostly live. There are some taped. Our whole crew will be very busy at work also in the next several days working on our special Oaks Derby package, close to 20 pages of information. Again, we will tout that, gentlemen, a little bit later in the show. Pete, we missed you yesterday for the Derby draw, but Paul, I have to say, we might have a little bit of a younger replacement going forward, according to you.
Noah was good on the tech stuff, Pete.
He was good, not great, good. I would give him. I give him. If I was speaking in Howard's terms, I'd give him a B plus. How's that?
Okay.
And I'm an A plus generally. So he's he's got a little ways to go, but he was awesome. No, I'm just messing.
He's got 30 years to make it up, Pete.
I mean, that's what I mean. When I was that age, I was an F minus, Paul. So it's not. I would have been drunk doing the pod at that age. So I think he did great.
So just to clarify, and I mentioned this last night, but we have, I believe, 10 people in the running for the free $50 win bet on the Derby. Those 10 people all predicted journalism to get the 8 slot. We are going to be choosing that tomorrow night. First thing, guys, on our show at 7:30 Eastern tomorrow night, which is our show specifically to handicap the Kentucky Derby only. It's our Kentucky Derby preview. We will be spinning the spinner and find out who gets a free $50 win bet, which I'll tell you what, guys, at the very minimum will be, $150 win if they go the journalism up to, gosh only knows, right? I mean, there's a lot of big prices in this race, Pete.
Yeah, no, it depends where you go for sure. I mean, if you're going to get a free 50, you might as well maybe take a shot, right?
Absolutely.
With something to get a little pricier. Is it 50 on one horse?
Yes, sir.
Did we clarify that? Okay.
Yes. It's $50 on one horse. Let's see what we got in the chat, guys. Brandon McElwain, new person in the chat. What's up? Best week of the year. Totally agreed. Terry Frank is here. Patrick Littledew. Tanner Hawkins is here. Hot Rod Horsefair. Looking forward to this show. Thanks, Hot Rod. So are we. Horsey Dave is here. So this is not the night to learn more about Owen Almighty. Snicker. No, it is not. Christopher NG is here. We had a lot of people here. Pete, we had, I see Nick Feldman in the chat. Pete and Paul, last night's show, we have almost 4,000 views on last night's show.
That's awesome.
We can't thank everyone enough. I mean, we are just growing leaps and bounds every single year. I remember we had like 1,500 people, I'd be ecstatic. Almost 4,000, Paul, watching our post-draw show live. Again, if you haven't watched it, please check it out on our YouTube channel. Last night, we had it was myself, Paul, and Noah Maher, who also gave a little medical information on Japan Street because of his background in equine science. Anyway, guys, we got a lot to talk about tonight, so let's get right to it. Again, we're talking about the 10 horses that we believe will most likely be the most bet horses. Now, and it's pretty much based off of morning lines. On our Kyle Roscoe hosted a show earlier this week. You guys can check it out. And ladies, I believe it was Wednesday night. It was our long shots top 10 long shots. So if you want to know about horses they were not covering tonight, I guarantee you we covered them earlier in the week with our long shot edition. Again, go to our YouTube channel and look at our Oaks Derby preview. It is there. All right, gentlemen. I have a list of horses that we're going to be discussing. Again, the order is somewhat by highest odds to lowest odds. We're going to end with journalism, so it's not exact science, of course, but that's what we're pretty much going to go off of as I go ahead and set up everything right now. And as I actually, before I show this, let me show this, guys, right now. Let me go in full screen and full screen. So this was, of course, last night. This is the field for the 151st running of the Kentucky Derby, 1 through 20. We will talk about Beza, who's an AE and not on this list. He will be post 21 if he gets in. I know a lot of people are very interested in him. We'll see if he gets in, guys, but it's going to be fascinating. Pete, we talked about this last night. Just one quick question before we get on to the top 10. What odds do you think Beza will be post time if he gets in, sir?
Post time, I would say probably 10 to 12.
I believe he's 12 to 1 morning line right now. So
I don't think he'll surpass Sandman or Sovereignty.
Okay.
But I think he could be fourth, right? I mean, I think.
Yeah.
Is that what you guys think?
Yes, I believe so. We'd love to hear people's comments in the chat as we talk about these horses. Now, Pete and Paul, I want to, focus on these horses somewhat in a vacuum. In other words, I don't really want to compare them to other horses in the field and like where they're going to be early in the race, the deep dive handicap we're going to do tomorrow night. So just talking about these horses, we'll show some replays. We'll talk about their development. Is this a forward move coming up? Is this a move they might go backward? I mean, obviously we do need to talk about pace flow and whatnot, but we're not really focusing tonight, ladies and gentlemen, on the handicapping of the race. That is tomorrow night. We're just focusing on these top 10 horses. And the main question, guys, for both of you, for every horse is number 1, win candidate. Number 2, board horse, you guys like to say. In other words, top 4.
Ooh, balloons.
Balloons. Top 4 or a toss. And when I say toss, guys, you are saying that they're not going to finish in the top 4. So just want to clarify. So win candidate, board horse, or toss, meaning out of the top 4. Gentlemen, are we ready? Let me take off the banner.
Win candidate. Oh, sorry.
On the bottom. And I'm not sure you're going to think this one is. Let's go to the first horse we're going to discuss. We're going to talk about 5 minutes per horse tonight. Citizen Bull, last year's BC Juvenile Champion, has already won $1.45 million. He's 20 to 1 in the morning line. Gets what I think most people think is the unfortunate rail. Paul, your thoughts overall on Citizen Bull?
For those who
are you shooting a free throw, Paul? We've got people on the audio. We got people on the audio platform, Paul. They have no idea what you're doing right now.
For those not watching, he's doing calisthenics right now. Yeah,
like a good salad. Toss, no chance.
Why, Paul? Talk about this horse a little bit.
Well, one thing, the race is 1.25 miles. 2, he's going to have to work like hell to get to the lead, and I don't see him. I don't see him getting. Like a 47-4, 48. He's going to have to run too fast. There's going to be much better horses behind him. I mean, I like the fact that Baffert worked him 6 and 7 furlongs the last 2 races. Bob does that pretty well to put some stamina in, and he is the juvenile champ. But I mean, that was a really bad Santa Anita Derby he ran, wasn't it?
I thought so. I think they should have tried to rate him anyway off of Barnes. They didn't. And Pete, as we're live here tonight, a very talented Baffert horse was not good today. Cornucopian, who was really prepping for the Preakness, couldn't even get the mile, sitting a perfect trip. Although in our group chat, I guess some of the West Coast gentlemen thought it was a bad ride. I don't want to get into that, but anyway, Cornucopian doesn't look like he's going to the Preakness. Just as a side note, but Citizen Bull, Pete, I mean, it's amazing how these Kentucky Derby horses go because. December, January, even after the Lewis grade 3, this was, basically your Kentucky Derby favorite. I mean, it's crazy what's happened to this horse.
Which is funny though, because it didn't seem like anybody liked him that much. So it was weird that he was the favorite, right? But I think people were downplaying the juvenile a little bit. People didn't like him because he got sort of an easy trip, and they thought he was almost sort of handed the juvenile in a certain way. It didn't come back very strong in the races subsequent to that. So it was weird. He was favored. It almost felt like in number only, and I think it's probably bared out that that was a mistake. And I really like this horse, and I wish he was better, but I think the rail is going to compromise him. I think everything Paul said is right. We don't have to belabor it too much. I think he's going to have to go. I think there's other speed to contest with him. I liken him, I think I said this on one of our shows, to the rich kid whose parents sort of babied him and never let him, sort of did everything for him and never let him out. And then he gets out into the real world. He doesn't even know how to do his own laundry or basically pay his own bills. And I think they did that to a detriment with Citizen Bull, like not getting him into races where he maybe had to deal with some adversity, and I think that's hurting him in the long run. And Martin Garcia has not been Oh no, I was just saying Martin Garcia's not been riding so well this year. So I'm not sure him working out a trip from the one with a ton of speed bearing down on him is going to work out all that well. Sorry, Paul. Go ahead.
No, I just think it's a case of, the juvenile has come back as a terrible race, unfortunately.
Yep.
Ferocious didn't run, God rest his soul. Chancer McPatrick has never come close to duplicating his 2-year-old form. I don't know what's going on with Jonathan's Way. I haven't seen hide nor hair of. East Avenue's race was over at the break. He fell to his knees at the break. So, I think that's part of it, Pete, is that race has just not come back well at all. And people are thinking, well, someone had to win the race. And, to Martin's credit, he was on the lead. Martin got the mount because he flew in to work that horse for Bob. I think he was riding at Oaklawn at the time, back last, prior to the Breeders' Cup back in, he was riding somewhere else in the fall, and he had gone in and worked that horse, and Bob gave him the mount, and good luck to him. But yeah, we don't need to spend, unless Howard likes this horse. We need to.
No, I didn't give my official. I toss as well.
I do. I hope our younger guys in our group chat see what Nick Feldman said from Cornucopia earlier today, because I got a little heat within our group chat. Apparently, was told to rate Cornucopian today. I know we're sort of going on a side topic, but anyway, just wanted to mention that. Roger Browning, what's up, Roger? No thanks to all the West Coast horses. Whoa! Wow!
I like it.
Wow. Okay, very interesting. Look, guys, I'm going to make this very simple. Citizen Bull and Rodriguez are both owned by the same group, that's Starlight Racing. So, they're both going to be aggressively sent, obviously, in the first, 25, 50 yards because they need to break. I have a hard time believing that Citizen Bull is not going to be gunning hard. He has to gun hard for the lead. That's not going to work well for him. I think Rodriguez is just a much better animal at this point. I don't like this horse at all. He will be able to save ground, I will say that, but everyone in the world thinks it's going to be a hot pace. It would be, to me, I'd be surprised if it wasn't. I mean, we never know. I don't like Citizen Bull at all. I think he could be a good threat, though, guys, in the Woody Stevens and the HL and Jerkins, I think, going 7 on Belmonte and at Saratoga. Actually, they both are being Saratoga later in the year. All right, guys, let's go to a horse that I know Mr. Halloran is going to be very, very excited to talk about. The next horse we're going to talk about that's a toss for all of us, correct, guys?
Toss
Citizen Bull. Complete toss for everyone. East Avenue, not a toss for everyone. Paul, I'm going to let you talk about this horse first. He was the bee's knees in his first 2 starts as a 2-year-old last year. We all know what happened to Juvenile. I'm not going to show the replay, Paul. We don't have to relive it. Went to his knees. It was a disaster. Was a complete disaster, really, in the Risen Star. Also, just didn't run a step after pressing it was a relatively hot pace, and Magnitude ran off the screen. He did get his act together when he went back to Keeneland. He had to work very hard to get to the lead. Burnham Square came over the top. It was a very hot pace. He didn't improve his buyer, though, from his 2-year-old 2 good races, Paul, but he did come back with a 96. I suppose you could say you take another step forward. I do like the post What's your overall thoughts on East Avenue? That this is, for full disclosure, everyone, a future Derby bet for Mr. Halloran. Paul?
Yeah, I am certainly going to keep him right on my A line. And look at it, we talked
Okay.
about it last night. The race has to go well for him. But I think he did as well as anyone at the post position draw. All the speed horses except one are inside of him, and the other one is Owen Almighty, who has less of a chance than Citizen Bull, on the far outside. Brendan, I listened to Brendan Walsh on another podcast today, and he said, you talked about it, Howard. He said maybe things just came too easy for him as a 2-year-old.
Yes,
and
I heard
he
that.
kind of had to learn to take some knocks, and he certainly took some knocks in the Breeders' Cup when he almost fell. But he was setting a perfect trip, and the Risen Star didn't fire, and a lot of people thought he'd be off the trail, but they took him back and they head to toe scoped him, took every x-ray, whatever, and nothing wrong. So they went to the bluegrass, which was a good decision. Still smarting a little bit from Burnham Square getting up at the wire in that race I was standing outside at about the 8th hole, Howard, at our beloved Keeneland, and actually when he ran by me, he dug in and kind of took off again, and I was
Well, he saw you. He saw you, and he's
Paul?
like, I know he's got a ticket on me. Let me win this race for him.
Actually, we know that's not true, Pete, because he had blinkers on. Sorry, Paul.
Well, he sensed his aura was around.
But,
Sure he did.
Machado did, talk about riding to instructions. He was told to go to the lead. I think they would have liked the second quarter maybe to be, a few hundredths less, but you can't blame him. And look like I say, the race has to go well for him. He's going to be 20-1. I got him in 18, so I'll probably be a little upside down on that. I think he goes off right around 20. And, I think he has about as well of a chance, as good of a chance as a 20-1 shot would have. How's that?
This is a very polarizing horse, Pete. I think some people are going to like him. I mean, you can't doubt or question his back form. What say you about East Avenue winning? Winners, a possibility. Winning candidate. I apologize. Board horse or toss.
For Paul's sake, I'm going to say board, but I lean toss. But I think
up.
Well, I think that's my guy, Paul. I got to.
He's my guy too, but we got to give the people some truth. We got to bring the truth, Pete. We got to bring the truth here.
Well, here's my thing.
You can't handle the truth. Oh,
I think one of the speed horses is going to hit the board. This isn't the one I would choose, though.
Okay.
But I think one of the speed horses, because I wonder what's going to happen. I just wonder what's going to happen. But I think just from a pace standpoint, he's compromised. I don't want to belabor this one. I want to keep going.
Yeah,
I don't like him that much. I think just because of the pace is going to be tough on him. And from that perspective, I think he has to be on the lead, and it's going to be a tough lead to be on. So I say lean toss, but board. I hope he gives Paul a run. How's that?
Yeah.
I hope he breaks well and gives Paul a thrill, at least up until about the mile marker, and then he might get run over.
Paul, I love you like a brother from another mother, but I got to be honest, my friend, I don't see it at all. I just don't see it. His wins have been on the lead only. I don't think he's gained the lead here. If he gets the lead, they're going to be 22 and 45 and 4 in this race, probably. I wish you luck, man. I don't know what happened to him since last year. He just wasn't quite developed. I just don't see it. If there wasn't as much speed in this race, I would think he's an interesting long shot. He is a toss for me. I don't see it at all. He's going to have to do something he's never done before in his life, most likely, which is sit off a fast pace and still go by and hold off everyone else. I just don't see it, but that's why we got to run the race, Paul, and you're getting a decent number on him in the future. So we shall see. The next horse. I don't know how big he is, but he is Grande. I'll tell you that. This is a horse that a lot of people are interested in. And he's 21 morning line, and it's Pletcher and Rapoli. And I'll tell you what, guys, they don't have the target on their back this year like they did the last 2 years with Forte and Fierceness. Of course, Forte didn't get a chance to run. Fierceness was awful. Grande, let's go to you, Pete. Ran huge. No pun intended. in the wood was wide every step of the way. He stayed on. So I don't think distance is a problem. He's a curly, so I know Paul's gonna like that. He's by curling out of a Warfront mare. So actually, maybe turf could be in his future at some point. Toss out Pletcher and Rapoli at your own peril. They're gonna win one of these days. I'm not sure it's with this one. What do you think?
Well, to cut to the chase, I'm going to go board for Grande.
Okay.
I don't know about the win end, but I do think, and we'll talk about this more tomorrow, but I think there's a distinct lack of sort of stalking horses that are right off. We got a lot of the top horses are closers, and then we have a lot of speed. I think like a horse like Tappan Street or Tappan Street, whichever way you're supposed to pronounce it, being out, he was one I thought was going to be able to sit off. I think Grande can, from this spot especially, work out a trip where he can get first run at those closers if they do heat up the pace. Now, whether he's good enough to not get run down by some of the deep closers, that's okay. But at least I think this one's going to make a move. And I think he can get like a two fills-ish type trip where two fills got the lead and he got excited for a minute and then he got caught. But I think Grande could be a horse. I think he could be one of the horses that could have the lead in the stretch, whether that's good enough.
Okay.
But I do think distance-wise, I think his profile looks like the distance might not be a problem. He's improving every race. He just ran his tops last out, closing into a horse that had a relatively comfortable lead, which is always somewhat impressive. I don't know. Board for me.
Okay. Dave Barista, me gustaría este caballo. Johnny V, por favor. He likes this horse, and he likes Johnny V also. He's a Johnny V, please. I don't know. I'll let you go before me, Paul. Grande, only 3 lifetime starts, but he is improving every start. And if he takes another jump up, let's just say he does, for argument's sake, low 100s might win this thing.
Yeah, I will not have him on the top line even as a C, but I guess in this format, I would say board as opposed to
horse.
toss.
Okay.
Out of respect to Pletcher, Johnny V, you mentioned the breeding. Certainly the breeding is going to indicate the 1.25 miles is
I'm going to
not
show
a
the
problem.
stretch run. Just Grande's on the 7. Rodriguez wins the race. You don't have to talk about what we see. You can keep talking about Grande if you'd like.
Yeah, well, I mean, this is Rodriguez had everything his own way, though. This was a speed favoring track, and he just you could see. Look at all the movement among the horses. I mean, Grande is like closed one spot. I think he's the only horse to go by. Now the rail horse might get by late, but yeah, I the wood has not been unfortunately a solid prep for the Derby, and was it Fusiachi Pegasus the last one to win it?
I believe so. You might be right.
It's been like 25 to 30 years. So yeah, but again, in this format, I would say board as opposed to toss, but absolutely not on top.
I'm gonna go board. In a weird way, I wanted to show the wood because I wanted to get you guys' very quick opinion on this statement I'm about to make, and then we got to move on. Does the wood make Rodriguez look better or Grande look better? And what I mean by that is, I think in a weird way, the fact that Grande stayed on actually makes Rodriguez worse than it looks. You know what I mean? Like, if he was really that good, I sort of feel like he should have drawn off and won by more. The fact that Grande stuck around and was very one-paced and only lost by 2.5, to me is a bit of a negative to Rodriguez. How do you feel about that, Pete?
I mean, I think that's a pretty valid way to look at it. I mean, I think it's always tough, though, because once you're on the lead like that, you're pretty comfortable and maybe you wrap up a bit, or maybe you just, the horse just doesn't kick in as much as they would if there was another horse bearing down. So I think but I come out of the race favorable for both of them. So I thought they both ran well. I thought Grande was just maybe a little further back than I think he would prefer. And you're getting Johnny V, and Johnny V could sit that sort of right off. He could sit that stalking trip, sort of second, third over, and we see if he's good enough. But yeah, I think quality horse out of a race that doesn't always produce Kentucky Derby contenders at this point.
That's true. Ron Esser in the chat said that it was, 148 was the time. It looked by almost every measure, it was a good race. The field though was very meh to me, and that's going to bring me to some other, actually that relates to what I talked about, the long shots. Like, I just don't like the fairgrounds horses, guys. I don't think it was a very good circuit this year, and we'll talk about another circuit that I thought was very good, and we're going to bring that up in just a minute. All right, guys, the next horse, we're talking about one more horse, and we're going to do a few quick reminders to people at home. This horse is exciting. The Japanese guys are getting closer and closer to winning this thing. They almost did with Forever Young last year. They've had Derma. They've had a lot of Derma Sotogake. They've had a lot of nice horses come over. And there are some people that are very excited, including our good friend Matt Miller, are very excited about the horse I'm about to bring on the screen. And that is Luxor Cafe. This horse has American breeding through and through. He's by Pharaoh out of a More Than Ready mare. 15-1 morning line. I think he's going to be lower than that. I think obviously the Japanese market's going to be betting him very hard. He's 4 for 6 lifetime with 1 second. He's won almost $400,000. His win last time was absolutely electric visually. Now, I've done a lot of research on this horse, guys, in the last 72 hours, and I've listened to people I respect a lot. The buyer that he got in that last race was somewhere in the low 90s. Most people agree. Okay, so take that for what it's worth. It looked visually impressive, but the field behind him was Now he's faced Admir Daytona, who's also in this race, and he beat him last year. Admir Daytona came back and won Dubai, sort of flattered that form. Look who's taking over the riding, guys. Jal Morera, the Magic Man's coming in. I'll be very cool to see him. I think for me, the first time in person, I believe. World-renowned jockey. Paul, it's a lot to ask for this horse. They have an unusual way of training in the morning, but there's a little buzz with this horse, not quite as much as there was for Forever Young, and I think that is accurate, at least in my opinion.
I think this horse is going to be very tough to beat when he gets on turf with his pedigree.
Okay. All right.
No, I will keep him on the board. I'm not using.
Okay.
Well, I guess I am as a C. Hey, look, anything can happen. But clearly, if you can only go by the people who really follow the Japanese racing. It's pretty well agreed upon that he is not coming in at the level of a Forever Young.
Yeah. Hey, Paul, you know what? I didn't answer my own question. Grande is a very reluctant toss for me. Just wanted to say that. That's Grande for me. Go ahead. Please continue, Paul.
Yeah, no. So in this format, I would have Luxor Cafe on the board. On my grid, I did a grid ABC, like instant reaction from the draw, and I'll probably just keep it because, but I had him as a C. So I'll want to be alive to him if all my A's have won by that point, but otherwise I won't have him on the top line. But good luck to those who do.
Tanner Hawkins brings up a good point. Pete, can you go ahead and read that, and then whether you heard that or not, just speak to what Tanner said? Go ahead and read it first, please.
The form for Forever Young beating a good one in Bookham Dano and the 100-plus buyer that Randy Moss gave. Luxor Cafe doesn't have anything like Forever Young did last year. I disagree. This is a win horse for me. This is he might be my top choice. I haven't decided yet, but he's close. So he's close. And again, I just think two things. I don't love the crop that much. I think journalism is the only one that potentially could be something special. And I think starting what I was talking about with Grande is sort of that stalking tactical horse. My hope is that could be this horse. And he's run that way, but he's run that way against lesser. But if he can work out a similar trip, and I think he has a good late kick. And you mentioned the breeding, Paul, for turf potentially. What I do like about him is I think the distance could be okay for him. I think he was striding out late. I love the way he ran last time. I even like the way he ran two back. I think the distance is going to be his friend. I think if he gets the right trip, he's going to be super dangerous. And I think those buyer comparisons and stuff like that are a little questionable because it's a bit of a guessing game, and it's a bit of a, not that buyer isn't generally, but I think when you're talking about some of these Japanese horses, especially ones that have run on days when you don't know what you're comparing it against necessarily, but he's a definite win candidate for me.
Interesting. We almost have 400 people watching live. Once again, huge numbers. Thanks for watching. Host Howard Krabs along with Pete Visco and Paul Halloran talking about the top 10 horses, not who he thinks going to finish 1 through 10, just the top 10 horses in terms of probable or morning line odds and probable odds off at the Derby. Guys, this is a tough call for me. I'm going to say board. I have to trust people. Look, when you don't know as much about a horse, you have to trust people that know these horses better. And although there's a lot of people that follow Far East racing and Japanese racing that I respect and listen to, like the horse, they don't like this horse as much as Forever Young last year. And I just have a gut feeling that he's not good enough to win this race. However, the pace might suit. You're going to get a decent price, and he's very interesting. I think he could definitely finish in the top 4. I just don't love him here as a win candidate, but I could certainly be wrong. Now, let me say this, guys, before I talk about a few quick things. And I thought about this a lot today. I would recommend to everyone at home, if you're going to bet the Kentucky Derby, which we know almost everyone is, you got to take a stand. We take stands on the show all the time. And sometimes we're right and sometimes we're wrong. We'd like to think that you're watching our podcast because we're more correct than incorrect. For example, last year in the Derby, Paul and I did not like Fierceness at all. We are exactly right. I didn't like Fierceness in his next race, and I was wrong. He had a great summer at Saratoga, and he overcome a little bit of adversity and ended up having a great year. You have to take stands. You can't say, well, I think I like this horse. I like this horse to win. I like this horse to win the Derby. Look, you can't like 12 horses to win this Kentucky Derby. You can't have 14, 15 horses in the top 3. You can't bet that way. You can say that, but I like to back up what I say. So I recommend everyone take a stand. Whatever it's going to be with whatever horse, take a stand, because Paul, I don't know about you, one of the most annoying things for me are people that red board. And if you're not familiar with red boarding, that's saying I told you so after the fact without taking a real stand, without any real proof. And that bothers the you-know-what out of me, and I'm sure it bothers you, Pete, also. So if I'm wrong, if you think I'm full of BS, look, you can just tell me my face or whatever. I'd like to believe I'm more right than I'm wrong, but we're all wrong at certain points. I just like to say, Paul, in general, you got to take a stand in this race. If you like Luxor, bet him. If you don't, toss. You really can't be wishy-washy with 20 horses, Paul. You just can't.
Yeah, I would remind people that Rich Strike won this race a few years ago. So
sure did.
You know, don't be, when you take that stand, don't be afraid to have an unpopular opinion. But no, I agree. And,
absolutely.
This is the type of horse, like I say, unless I get there with all A's, I'm not going to have. And if he beats me, he beats me. There's 20 horses. So there's a lot of them who are going to beat you. And, you said,
right.
Howard, you can't bet that way. You can bet that way, but only if the homeless shelter has an OTB, because that's where you're going to be living.
Yeah, I mean, it's so just, right.
Yeah, I mean, look, I made a big future bet on East Avenue. There's a very good chance I'm going to be wrong, but if he wins, I'm going to be rewarded handsomely for
amazing
for my opinion.
Can I disagree? I know you're going to get to the package.
Hey, do you mind if I do the package first, Paul?
No, please. Go ahead.
Pete, and I'll let you talk. Very quickly, we have an Oak Story package we've been promoting for quite a while now. We don't want to continually bother people at home with this promotion, but it's important to us. All you have to do is go to our website, hhhracingpodcast.com, click on the Power Pick tip sheet, and then the drop down is Kentucky Oaks and Derby information. Here it is. There's 2 tip sheets, one for Friday, one for Saturday. There's information. There's a sample of one of our Oaks sheets from, not one of the Oaks sheet from last year. We had great success with it. The deadline is Wednesday midnight, everyone. Wednesday midnight is the deadline. Again, go to our website, hhhracingpodcast.com. Click on that Power Picks tip sheet tab on the top. Go ahead, Pete.
I just want to disagree in one sense. I know for me, the way I play the Derby, I don't always I know touts and people who are on podcasts and TV and everything want to have the winner of the Derby. It's fun. It makes you feel good. It makes you feel like you've accomplished something. I know the way I play, I don't care about the winner some years, because there's some years I just don't like a horse to win. And there's some where I just want to have like 2 or 3 that I think have a good shot to win, and I could key a lot of bets around them. And this is a year like that for me. So I think taking a stand is cool. And I think you're right. But I don't think it has to be, I need one horse and that's the one that's going to win the race. So I don't think anybody has to look at it that way. But I agree with you. You can't have, you can't say, I think 10 or 15 of them can win.
Yeah.
Of course, they all could win. I mean, but you have to zero in a little bit.
And you could also be right and wrong. Like, I didn't like Mystic Dan last year. I didn't.
No,
he got an amazing trip. I think it's proven out. He hasn't even won since. He's barely raced since. I liked Forever Young and Sierra Leone. They were right there at the wire. I feel like I handicapped the race pretty darn well. Like Two Phil's 2 years ago, he ran a bang up second. I mean, so, I think everyone's very much result oriented in this game. You just can't always be result oriented sometimes. Burnham Square. This is a Matt Bernier is a big fan of Burnham Square. He was on our show. You can check that out from last week. 12-1 morning line. It's a very likable closer. Ian Wilkes won the Bluegrass. We already talked about that. Had a little bit of a setback in the Fountain of Youth, but won the Holy Bowl impressively. Paulie's as honest as the day is long. He's bred to go long. This is a very interesting horse for Ian Wilkes and company. And I did it again because I don't think I mentioned how I felt about Luxor Cafe. I think I did. He's a board horse.
You did. You did.
Burnham Square, Paul.
Well, I can't very well have East Avenue on the top line and not have Burnham Square on the top line. So I have Burnham Square as an A. I have 3 horses on my A line at this point, and this is one of them.
What are the other 2, Paul?
East Avenue and Journalism.
Plus, we're trying to win the fantasy league, Paul, and Burnham Square would go a long way
Pete,
for that.
Our chances would just keep getting better, Pete, along those lines. Although our Oaks, we won't go down that road, but our Oaks chances did not get better at the draw.
Honestly, from the draw, that was the only thing I took from the draw was that.
We talked about it last night.
Yeah.
This is the Holy Bowl win when he was able to run down to Pan Street, Paul. On the screen.
Is this the Holy Bowl or the Florida Derby?
No, this is the Holy Bowl.
Holy Bowl.
To Pan Street.
Got it. Oh, got it. Yeah. You know what? He comes running, and I talked about the stretch drive in the Bluegrass, and I think the Pan Street was going to take a good amount of action in this race. So he unfortunately got hurt the other morning. Fortunately, he's okay. But this horse comes running. The Fountain of Youth was not a good race for him. The race after the one you just showed, Howard, but he did, Ian turned the screws a little tighter for the Bluegrass, and he really responded. I think this horse is, for me, he's a win candidate, but he absolutely is a horse you want to have on the board. If you're playing tries and supers, I think he's a definite for that.
Pete had to work awfully hard in the Bluegrass, which I thought was a below average race in general. But he did get the job done, and his work. Look, people can poo-poo the morning works and say they don't matter and whatever. I was really impressed with his morning work this past weekend. He looked great in the stretch, really without being asked. He hugged the rail. He looked like he's already run well at Churchill in his second start. I've been upgrading him lately, but I'll let you expound more.
I agree with everything you just said, so we don't have to go into it too much. He's a win candidate. I guess when we're talking about it, we're not saying that we're going to play them as a win candidate bet, but he's a win candidate horse for me, where he's in consideration right now, and him winning would be logical to me. I mean, if you just look at Beyer, and again, we know Buyers aren't everything, but just I do like the incremental improvement we've had. The Fountain of Youth was a little bit of a misstep, and if the Fountain of Youth was his last race coming in, he'd probably be a toss for me. But I like that he rebounded from that, and I liked the Bluegrass. I liked him in the Bluegrass. I liked that race. I liked that Brian Hernandez picked him up there and sort of got used to him a little bit, sort of figured him out, hopefully. And you said hugging the rail there. Is this the kind of horse that he can get sort of a Mysticky Dan kind of trip? I think you put that out the other day, which
I did.
I just meant you were basically favoring our fantasy team, but still, I think this is a horse, and we know Brian Hernandez knows how to ride this track in this race. And I think this is a horse. He's going to have to improve But if all hell breaks loose, I think he's going to be coming late. I think the distance is his friend. So
Yeah,
he's going to be running, I think. He's not going to be one of the ones dying late.
I'm warming up to him. He's not my top pick. To me, he is a win candidate. As I mainly have closers as win candidate. They're not like dead closers necessarily, but and I don't think he's going to be like in 18th on the first turn, but I think he'll be maybe 15th, 14th, 15th. I think he's very consistent, and I think Ian Wilkes is an underrated trainer who's patient. And look, the Fountain of Youth, they said he had to step up his game. He stepped up his game in the Bluegrass and went by a very game East Avenue. So I think Burnham Square is very, very interesting here. He's a definitely win candidate. I'm going to use him on pretty much everything, and I think we're going to get a decent square price on him. Gatekeeper, what's up, Gatekeeper? Burnham Square looks absolutely critical in the workouts. I wouldn't count him out. He's training in perfect form. Thanks, Gatekeeper, for joining the show. Appreciate it. Tanner Hawkins has got him as an A. I love hearing that Paul and Matt both love this horse. Thanks, Tanner. Let's see. We've got Jarek 859. What's up, Jarek? Or Jarek. I'm pretty sure it's Jarek. I've noticed Ian Wilkes has really cranked down on Burnham Square this
not in the workout
this week. Not the workout, but look, they all got different training styles. Ian Wilkes tends to be very patient. We got Felice's here. Let's see. Got a lot of people in the chat. Really appreciate. We can't bring up everyone, obviously, but I like what I've seen there from Burnham Square. All right, guys. Yep. Next horse. I think this horse is one of my toughest calls to make of the entire Derby. Before the draw, I fancied this horse quite a bit. After the draw and after evaluating this horse carefully, I'm not as high on him as I was before. And that horse is the number 4, Rodriguez, one of 2 for Baffert. You see he has 2 100 plus buyer figs. Not a lot of horses in this field can say that. However, if you look carefully, they are both on the lead. One was at a main special weight against Beza in California. The other one was the Wood, which was an honest race and got a 101. But again, the field was not great. The pace was solid, not blazing. It was actually more than solid. It was relatively fast, and he went on with it. This is an authentic. We know what authentic is capable of doing. Costs $485. Pete, this is a tough call for me. What do you think about Rodriguez here?
It's very funny you said that, because that's exactly what I was thinking when you were saying that. I was like, I wonder if the next horse is Rodriguez, because that's exactly what I'm thinking. I think if a speed horse wins, it's going to be him. So sorry, Paul. I do think that if a speed horse wins, and if a speed horse, I think he's the most dangerous if somehow he gets not comfortable lead, because it's still the Derby and there's a lot of speed. But if somehow the suicide speed duel that we think is going to happen doesn't, I think if he's the one that's on the lead, he's going to be dangerous. So he scares me the most. He's the one I think is the speed horse I would include in stuff, because I'd be afraid that he just gets on the lead and holds, and some of the closers have trouble or something and can't get there. So now we just have this horse that either holds on and wins or holds on and hits the board. So he's confusing to me. He's probably closer. It wouldn't shock me if he wins. Like, I almost would put him on the win candidate, win candidate, just because I think he's the speed horse that has the best chance to win.
I just put something that, Mike said maybe he doesn't need the lead. Look, Paul, you got to take trainer and jockey speak with a grain of salt. I've got to see things to believe it. Are we to believe this horse has never rated and really passed anyone in his life? Now he's going to do it in a 20-horse field with a lot of other speed. I don't see that. So
Mike Smith said he's going, by the way, on the interview.
Well, I've heard different things. I've heard Smith say that he could sit if he had to. I don't.
Yeah, look, but I think
the only person that knows if he's going is Baffert, and then partially Mike after, a millisecond after they open the gates. That's really the only people that know for sure. I'm sorry to interrupt you there, Pete. But
no,
Paul, let me ask you a question, Paul. So did you say board horse, Pete? Did you give an answer?
I would get. He's sort of I hate to waffle. He's sort of like win board to me, because again, right. I think if you think a speed horse is going to win, I think he's the one I would take.
I'm only
So-
laughing, Pete, because I just went on a 3-minute diatribe about taking a stand, and my good
I
friend Pete
know.
Visco is
Well,
waffling.
It's Sunday the week before, so I don't have to decide today.
All
No
right.
offense. So
All right, no, it's all good. It's just
he's
ironic.
probably bored. I would lean bored more
Okay.
than win for sure.
Okay, all right. Paul, 2 questions. What do you think of Rodriguez? And number 2, if you were Baffert and you wanted to give this horse the best chance to win in this race, do you send the Citizen Bull like a banshee and have Rodriguez just sit ideally in a pocket position, or do you send Rodriguez really hard and just hope he's that good?
Well, I don't think this horse is going the lead under any circumstances. So let me just start with that.
Okay.
Baffert said that Citizen Bull is faster. You have to go from the 1, and Martin Garcia is going to be riding this like one of those 1,000-yard races you love at frickin' Los Al, Howard. Okay, that's what he's going to look coming out of the gate.
Okay.
And then they're going to get to the turn, and they're going to say, "Oh shit, we got to go to another turn."
Okay.
I think that I'll put him on the board as far as I have him as a C. I won't have him any higher than that. I don't think it was a good running of the wood. We were talking about Grande as a real borderline horse, and that's the horse who ran second. I think Rodriguez could come around 4th or 5th in this race. So,
Okay.
and to your point, I don't see him winning from off the pace. So I don't. I don't see this horse winning.
Guys, Pete, I do agree with you in one respect for sure that if there is a forward horse that's going to win, it is this one. I 100% agree with that. I just don't think he's going to win. He's a board horse for me. I just as good as Bob is, I just can't see it. Again, his 2 wins have been on the lead, and I don't see that happening here. Even if he gets the lead, it's going to be a very fast pace in theory. I'll tell you what I know for sure though. Disciple of him with the $10 donation. Bing. Thank you, Disciple.
Oh.
Appreciate that. In the chat, everyone, there's a $sign on the right side of your screen. If you'd like to donate to the podcast, we greatly appreciate it. That's very nice of you, Disciple of him. Thank you very much for that $10 donation to the podcast. Why can't I? It's so popular. I can't even take it off the screen. Okay. Oh, it's off the screen. I'm sorry. Okay, there we go. I don't see it, guys. I'm gonna use him defensively. I'm probably going to play a super for fun, and he's going to be on my top line on one of my tickets. But he's a board horse for me. I don't see it. I'm not sure how good that wood was, guys. I know the time was good. No one was running after him. The rail was very good that day. And frankly, Bob has not been great this year with his 3-year-olds. I mean, it's not Bob hatred. It's fact. It's just, it is what it is. So, by the way, speaking of Bob, Niceos returning in a loaded Churchill Downs.
That's the best race of the day. That's much
Bookham
better
Dano,
than this. Yeah.
Niceos. I'm missing a big name.
Mindframe.
Mindframe. I mean,
Mulligan.
Melkin, Exactanejo, who just
Banishing.
won at Keeneland. Banishing.
Yeah.
I mean, oh my lord.
That's a monster. That's a Breeders' Cup. That's a Breeders' Cup race for sure.
That is fun. All right, guys. Let's move on to the next horse. The next horse is a horse that's not in this race yet. How about that, guys? We have a horse that is not in the race, may not be in the race at all, but we have to talk about this horse just for a short amount of time, guys. And that is, of course, the number 21, the AE Beza, 12-1 morning line. We'll show the replay against journalism. There's a lot of buzz with this horse. Only 4 lifetime starts. You know how patient John Sheriffs is. Win candidate, board horse, or toss if he gets in, Paul. And again, to remind everyone, he'd be starting from the 20 hole on the far outside. Beza, Paul.
I'll put him on the board. He won't be in my grid as far as winning the race. You do have to respect him by the way he ran against journalism. But now the question is, who of the other 3 horses, who did he beat in the race? Right. And it's Westwood, Citizen Bull, of course, and Barnes, who's been a disappointment. So, again, I respect Sheriffs. I agree with you, Howard. Sheriffs doesn't send horses to this race because he wants to come and get a good seat. He started very few. So I would respect. He's out of Puka. Suffolk Downs Stakes winning Puka, who is the mother of Mage, the Derby champ from 2 years ago. The McKinsey horses are doing okay. Mile and a quarter, we'll see. But yeah,
By the way, Paul,
I
I
will
people
have.
noticed he was a little goofy. He's the 5. He's going around Citizen Bowl. He was looking into the stands right here, and that's with 10,000 people. Now he's going to have 150,000. I mean, from the 20 hole, this is a very, very difficult ask. I personally think people are overrating this horse in the Derby. I'm not saying he's not talented. I just think it's a very, very tough ask.
Oh, was that for me?
I agree.
Or was
That was for
Pete,
Paul,
you take it. Yeah, no, you can take it, Pete.
No.
either
Sorry,
one.
I agree. I think right now journalism's better than him, and Beza is going to have the worst of it from a post standpoint, and
Yep.
I don't think he's going to be able to work out the trip that he wants. The only thing that sucks, so I'd put him on the board because of Pratt, because I don't like losing money when Pratt's involved. And he's a talented horse who's, from a figure standpoint, has gotten better every race, regardless of the figures you look at for the most part. And he's got Pratt. But that post is just going to be tough for his running style. And I think journalism's just better than him right now. So it's a tough ask. But I would say board for sure.
Okay, he's a reluctant. He's the same way I feel as I felt about was it Grande? I think he's a reluctant toss. I just think it's too much too soon, and that post is tough. And I suppose he can get third or fourth. But like I said, I'm gonna take stands. I'm gonna toss him. But I think what would be best for him, to be very honest, not to question John Sheriff's guys, but I think it would be best for Baeza is not to get in and be well rested and ready to go for the Preakness, where I think you'd have a huge shot.
I agree with that.
In that race, in your neck of the woods, so to speak, Pete, in the very last race ever at Pimlico Racecourse, by the way. So as it is right now, before they raise it and do some.
Yes, we're coming to Laurel, the real Maryland track.
There we go.
It's close to my house, so I like that one better.
Beautiful. Yeah, it's exciting for you.
Yeah.
We've got 3 more horses left, guys, and I would feel pretty confident saying these are going to be the top 3 horses by the post-time odds, the 3 lowest horses. And we'll go in order as to what it may or may not be. Let's go to let's enter Sandman, shall we? Oh, what do you got? Is Jackson?
By the way, my son said, hurry up, start talking, because we have a show to watch in a few minutes.
Hey, what's up, Jackson? We haven't seen you in a while, man. How you doing?
I can't hear you with the headphones.
Okay.
But, you can? Oh, he can hear because my
headphones. All right. Well, Jackson, it's great to see you, man. We would love to get you on the show sometime. All right. Good to see you. Take care.
All right. We're wrapping up, kiddo.
Giant.
He's getting big, man.
It's crazy. Paul it seemed like yesterday he was like 9 years old and was on the screen, and it's pretty cool. Anyway,
better be careful, Pete. I have a 32-year-old floating around somewhere, so be careful, Pete.
It goes by fast, right, Paul?
All right, guys, let's enter Sandman. Literally, there he is. I just entered him. 6-1 in the morning line. He's the 17 horse. This is an extremely popular horse for a lot of reasons. The name, he's a closing gray. He's got Jose Ortiz, Mark Cassie, got 99 buyer last time in an absolutely perfect setup. I'm sure Charlie Freeman's watching, and if he's not watching right now, our co-host from Bet and Boozin', he will watch us, I'm sure. Guys, you have absolutely no obligation to say great things about Sandman. He's a bit polarizing too, I think, amongst the Sharpies. I'm not saying that if you have a strong opinion, you're not one of the sharp handicappers. I'm just saying you could go either way with this horse. Pete, what do you think about Sandman by Tappet, who has never sired a Kentucky Derby winner up to this point?
Let's see. He's got Tappet, who's never had a winner, and he's got the 17 hole, who's never had a winner. So not exactly not exactly pointing upwards.
17 hole is complete. That's.
I know but it is funny that it's the only one that's an over.
It is.
So it's funny, and you can't feel great about it. I like Sandman as a horse. I'm a sucker like Charlie for a nice gray closer. So this is a horse that I really like. I think he has a great shot to hit the board. I think he can win the race, because people say, oh, he got the setup in the Arkansas Derby. Well, who's to say he isn't going to get the setup in the Kentucky Derby, because we think there's going to be a crap load of pace in here. So he might get the same setup. Now, working out a trip from the 17 hole is a little bit different, But I think as far as if he's the one who's ahead of some of the other late closers, and if he runs, because I thought he made his middle move last time, I really liked. And when you were watching the race, I'm like, oh man, they're getting him involved a little bit earlier. And it proved to be useful, and he sort of rolled by the field. If he can get ahead of some of the others and everything's breaking down and falls apart, why not?
Cost 1.2 million. That would actually he's already paid for the 1.2 million. He's 1.254.
Yeah. And
Paul,
Jose's riding great, by the way. Sorry, I just want to say Jose's riding great. So
yes.
he might have the magic touch.
Paul, what say you about Sandman, owned by Elias Stable and West Point as well?
They have him as a defensive B. I would say in this format, I'll call him a board horse.
Okay.
I think he's going to be terrifically overbet. And, hats off to our friend Charlie, who has about 125 to 1. So, yeah,
Absolutely. It's amazing.
That's not overbet, by the way.
No.
But in this race, if you're talking about him being the second choice in this race, on the top line, I want no part of him as the second choice. I do not think in any way, shape, or form he is the second most likeliest winner. But, again, race flow could go to his favor. Jose is riding well. I have him as a B in the grid, but I'll call him a board horse for this exercise.
He is a begrudging board horse for me. Look, I don't like that, he had 7 lifetime starts, guys, to figure out some stuff before the Arkansas Derby, and he was still goofy in the lane with an absolutely perfect setup, and Publisher wasn't that far off. Publisher has not won a race yet. If you want to argue he's the best closer in the race, I'm not going to disagree, but here's my thing, guys. He's very one-paced. He reminds me a lot of Sierra Leone, and people say they want Sierra Leone. Sierra Leone is and was very talented, but Sierra Leone had run a lot faster at this point, leading into the Derby. Plus, he was winning these races relatively easily. These prep races. Sandman, only has 1 win in the prep races. He's gotten great setups in all of them, and last time he was goofy in the lane, and he won. But I don't see this horse, guys, like weaving between horses and. He's a locomotive, but even more than Sierra Leone was. I mean, I'm not saying he's not an athlete, but he's very one-paced to me, Sandman. And once he gets going, he gets going. But guys, he has to be ridden wide. He's not a horse that's gonna do like Rich Strike what he did, or Mind That Bird, like come up the inside and like weave between horses. And he's gonna be a locomotive that's gonna be flung most likely like 8, 9, 10 wide. On the final turn. I think he's going to come like a train in the stretch to get 3rd, 4th, or 5th. That's just what I see here. I don't doubt his ability. I don't doubt that he's a good closer. I think he's still a little immature, and I'm not sure how fast he really is, because before that last race, that was a ridiculous pace. His highest buyer, guys, was a 92. So I know they've all got 1 race on the page, blah, blah, blah. I said everyone, I got to take stands. He's a board horse. I'm not going to be using him much on the win end, and if I'm wrong, I am wrong. 2 more horses left, guys, to cover. Let's go to the number 18, Sovereignty. A guy named Bill Mott trains. Paul, you know this trainer very, very well, better than Pete and myself. You know him personally. I think I've met him once. You've actually had several in-person conversations with him at various tracks throughout the country when you were working on your wonderful book that'll be coming out relatively soon for about Cody's Wish. And you've also know Junior Alvarado very well. I know Junior Alvarado pretty well. Also, I'll explain to everyone why after I let Pete and Paul talk. 4 for 5 in the money. Had a little, again, didn't run great in the floor. Well, he ran fine in the Florida Derby. Tapan Street beat him. Won the Street Sense over this strip and won by 5 with a super impressive effort, I thought, in October last year at Churchill. Paul, how do you feel about Sovereignty, the 18 for Godolphin?
Sovereignty is my top pick in the race.
Can you say that again? I had you off screen.
Sovereignty is my top pick in the race.
Wow. Okay.
So, and I get it. The journalism is going to be a handful, but as my uncle just said a little while ago, you got to take a stand. I think this horse has done very little wrong. He Tappan Street kind of got away from him last time, and he still ran second. Junior obviously was hurt, was not on him last race. To whatever degree that made a difference, he did work him today. He worked well today. It was a typical Mott maintenance move. I think they went 101 and 2.
Yeah, he's
if I'm
not a great
mistaken.
workhorse, by the way.
He's not a great workhorse, but he's worked a little better. And I want to say two things about him. And I've watched the show every morning, and the Churchill show has been good. The FanDuel coverage has been absolutely, the last 3 mornings, totally outstanding. I
Paul,
mean,
very, very important question. Did they, and I say this cheekily, I don't mean to insult anyone, but I know you're watching a certain funeral. Did they stop the funeral to allow some horses work and then went on with it? Gave the homily after some of the
No, the funeral started at 4 Funeral was, I got up at 4 a.m. to watch.
Oh, wow.
Saturday.
We're talking about the Pope, everyone. So
I got up at 4 a.m. I watched the
early?
Pope's funeral till 6:15. Had my third cup of coffee and watched the workout starting at 6:45.
Perfect.
This is not my first rodeo.
Okay. Savity did not work great before the Fountain of Youth, and I was completely against him. Like I said, you can be right or wrong. We will admit on this show. I didn't like him in the Fountain of Youth. Everyone was saying he wasn't working great. He needs to start. And he ran down to very Game River Thames in that race, and he became a serious believer in me after the Fountain of Youth ball.
Yeah, well, two things I was say about the works. He, on the track, the first few mornings at Churchill, he was washed out pretty good, which is cause for concern. He's coming out of Florida, coming into a cooler climate, so you wouldn't expect that. I have in my notes from today, not washed out, ! Mm-hmm. So he's that has gotten progressively better. And ironically, after a work today, as opposed to just a gallop, he was fine. So I would say that. And we talked about this last night. He is obviously one of the closers. You can see him running down. I think that was River Thames there, Howard.
Yes, it was.
I think of those closers who are all kind of out in the same neighborhood outside, I think, I could be wrong, I think and hope he might be able to be a little more tactical than some of the others. Because, let's face it, this is a tough race to win from 15, 16, 17, 8. I'm talking position, not post position. Where you are in the race,
right?
From
so early, Paul. Let's say as they go by the stands the first time by the finish line, he'll be ahead of Sandman. He'll probably be, cold battle territory. He's faster than Render early. He's probably faster than Tistastic early. He's faster than Flying Mohawk early. He's faster than probably Burnham Square early. So there's a bunch of horses to his inside that he will be able to cross over. So I expect Junior not to be aggressive, but let the horse get into a stride. And I think if you like Sovereignty, you don't want him 19th. You like to see him 11th or 12th into the first turn. Do you feel the same way?
Yeah, that's exactly what I'm thinking. Yes.
Yeah.
And again, it's a long run to the first turn. I was talking about
quarter mile. It's a quarter mile.
Right.
No, more than a quarter mile. Sorry, it's a quarter mile to the wire. My bad.
Yeah, I was talking about Quiet Side. And the reason why the 14 can be a real difficult post to the Oaks as well, at 1 1/8, it's another two fewer furlongs to the first turn, right?
Yeah.
Or one fewer furlong, rather. Anyway, so yeah, I think that if Sovereignty can get to where you just said, like 12, 11, 10-ish, as they straighten out in the backstretch, I think he has a very good chance to win. So.
Okay. Sorry, we're on a little longer there. Pete, what do you think about Sovereignty? Triple Crown nominated, obviously. Coincidentally, the dam name is Crowned. Thought that was interesting. Sovereignty, Pete.
Yeah, I would have him as a win candidate for sure. I think everything Paul said is correct, so I don't want to repeat everything that he was talking about. Yeah. I do think the I mean, I like Tapan Street. He was maybe my top horse before he got injured, and I thought I thought you could get a similar race to the Florida Derby and the Kentucky Derby, where Tapan Street would get the jump and win, and Sovereignty would be coming late, and he could get right behind him potentially. But I didn't love the last race, and I know that was hopefully the hope is that now he's going to be fit and ready. And that's just a hard thing to predict. You hope that's the case, but I do agree with Paul that if he breaks well, and he could be the one who's closer than, say, Sandman and Publisher and some of the other deep closers.
Yeah, he couldn't run down to Pan Street, who got the jump. And you see sometimes a little bit late to change leads, although he was better in this replay than he was before. I'll just let this run through, as he just couldn't quite get to Pan Street. But
he was making ground up. He was
definitely.
Up.
There's no doubt he was making up ground. I mean, there's absolutely no question about it. Guys, I'm going to save my top picks and everything for our show tomorrow. When again tomorrow 7:30 Eastern, everyone, is our Kentucky Derby only preview show. In other words, we're only going to be talking about the Kentucky Derby and how we feel about the race. Guys, this is a serious win candidate for me. I think he's going to bounce back to a better effort. I think he's going to be sitting on a big race. I think the whole key for him, Paul, other than the obvious, which is braking fine, is not being 7-8 wide on the first turn. If somehow Junior can find a spot, I think he's extremely live here. And one thing you guys haven't really mentioned, although we've seen replays, I give horses extra credit for closing at Gulfstream Park. It's not easy to close on that track going 2 turns. He's consistently done it, which is also why I like Burnham Square a little bit more than I originally thought. And guys, I think the Gulfstream Park circuit this winter and spring was really pretty solid. I think it was pretty good when you look at all the other tracks. We talked about this a few weeks ago, right? So I think that was the best circuit or second best circuit to California. And the only reason why California is up there is because of one horse, basically. So I think this horse is very live. I think he's seeing a big effort. Don't forget, everyone, there's a certain gentleman named Junior Alvarado who won the Saudi Cup on a horse named Senor Buscador from the Cloud. So if you think Junior can do it, there's no doubt he can do it. Last thing I'll say before we get to journalism, guys, Junior Alvarado and Florent Giroux were absolutely unbelievable in their younger days at Arlington. And I spent a lot of time watching both those guys win a whole bunch of races. And Junior was absolutely outstanding. Most people only know him from New York, but if you're old enough and you followed Midwest racing, he killed it at Arlington on the synthetic, on the turf. So Junior Alvarado, I still say, Paul, one of the more underrated, one of the more underrated riders out there. All right, guys, we know where we're going. This horse deserves to be the favorite. He's going to be the favorite. I'm guessing somewhere around 5-2 post time. He is very, very good. He's 4 for 5 lifetime. He's, as I said, pun intended, he's going to try to write his own story in the Derby, and that is the number 8 journalism for Eclipse Thoroughbreds. Rispoli, Michael McCarthy's done an unbelievable job. Not only has he won races, he's done it very impressively. He's got a 108 and a 102 buyer in his last 2. Pete, I know we're all going to say this is a win candidate. I think to say anything otherwise is a bit silly. But when you go to the windows, when you go to the windows and you have to make a decision, they don't give you $500 if you pick the winner, no matter who it is. Value matters. So we'll talk about if he's your top choice tomorrow, but he's absolutely a win candidate, and what a very talented horse.
Yeah, he's definitely a win candidate, and obviously, regardless of value for a second, you can't look at him and say he's not been the best horse. I mean, there's problems. 4 of his races have been against 4 other horses. Yep. That's a little bit concerning when you're going to be in a 20-horse field. We just don't know how he's going to navigate that. People will talk about he had a little bit of trouble in the Santa Anita Derby. I thought that was supremely overblown. I thought he didn't have a bad trip at all.
I agree with you, by the way.
But I just think he's been the best. He's the horse that if I had to pick, and this is what I might do, and this isn't going out on a limb because he's the favorite, but if I had to pick one horse to key sort of my verticals around, I would pick him, because I feel like he's the most guaranteed, as much as you can be in this race, to run his race He's tactical enough. He should be close enough to where he's going to get the run on the speed horses. Hopefully, he drew a good post. He's got a nice kick. The distance doesn't seem like it should be an issue for him. So if I'm looking for a horse that's better guaranteed to hit the top 3 or top 4, I'm picking him and then hoping that I can fill the triple and the super with higher priced horses around him. I just think he's the most reliable. He's been the best. There's not a lot of negatives you could say aside from maybe the competition and the fields that he's faced.
Let's take a look at the Santa Anita Derby. This is where, he had a little bit of trouble. They tried to keep him on the inside. I mean, he steadied. To me, like, big freaking deal. Like, you don't think that can happen on Saturday? I mean, he did have a little bit of trouble. He's in a little bit tight. He could have a heck of a lot more trouble than this. And he was able to fight through it. So that was impressive. But I agree with you, Pete. I mean, he could see a hell of a lot more trouble than that in the Derby.
Yeah, I mean, it was troublesome. It wasn't the best trip in the world, but let's not make it out like everything went wrong for him. He was a little bit of trouble that you can get into a 5-horse race. It's more trouble than you expect to get in. Maybe there was some tactics against him, but then he kicks out and he gets a pretty clear run, and he just ran by a bunch of horses that he's better than. So great. And he could probably do the same thing, though. If he works out a nice trip, he could sit close. There'll be speed in front of him, and he's just got a better late kick than a lot of those other horses do. And he'll have the jump on some of the deeper closers, most likely.
Yes. Paul, this is a very likable horse. I'll just say right now, I'm not going to say whether he's my top pick. I would never, ever, ever put a win bet on him at 5-2, ever. There's absolutely no way. If you take out the 108, again, extremely impressive, but a dream trip in a small field, right? But he did run a 108. If you take that race out, he's just another one of your top 4 or 5 best horses in this race. And people could say, Howard, that's stupid to say because he did run the 108. I get it. But you know what, Paul? And I said this on this show, and you guys can verify. I've said it for 3 months. These small fields getting really good trips at Santa Anita might bite these horses in the butt. I think it's showing out a little bit with the Baffert horses. I don't know if it's going to show with journalism. And I know he broke his maiden in a bigger field, but he can't possibly get as good a trip in theory as he's been getting in California.
Yeah, I think the concern would be, and I agree, he on paper is the most likely winner, and he did as well as anyone at the post position draw. But the concern I would have is where he's going to be at the turn in this field and how far behind can he come from. Mm-hmm. So last time he was 5th of 5. That puts him 20th of 20 here. The time before that, he was 3rd of 5. That puts him 12th, 13th, Mr.
12th.
Math teacher, I think.
Exactly 12th.
Okay, I did good, right? I did well there?
Yeah, but okay, go ahead. I'll let you continue. Yes, you did good.
My point is this, and we have no reason to think he can't be tactical and be, 4, 5, 6, 7 in this race. But I'll tell you one thing: if he's 15th by any odd chance, he ain't winning this race from 15th. Now, it's probably unlikely that happens, but if you think journalism is winning this race from the back of the pack, then you got a super horse on your hands. I just don't see that. I think there's a very good chance he wins it from, that second flight. But is he going to be in that second flight?
Look, to me, he's very talented. I'll tell you what I like most about him. I don't know that he's like brilliant. He's very professional. He's always on the bridle. He doesn't seem to be bothered by anything. He's very fit. He's gotten great rides. Rispoli knows him. Like, this is a fantastic horse, and he deserves to be the favorite. And if someone said, Howard, I'll give you $1,000 if you pick the winner of the Derby, I would take journalism. I mean, look, I'm not stupid. He's the best horse in the race. That doesn't mean he's going to win next Saturday. Am I going to use him in every single bet? Yes. Will I put a win bet in to get a $7 mutual? Hell no, absolutely not. I just don't think he towers over this field, guys, but he's very, very good. Again, he's been facing a lot of Baffert's guys, though, in California that, frankly, have not been able to get the distance. And that's not ripping on Baffert or California. It just is what it is. So look, if he wins, I'll stand up and, give him a great applause, and I'll take pictures on the turf course and, in the winner's circle when they're putting draping the roses over him. He'd be a very deserving winner. He's obviously a win candidate, but guys, there's a lot of good horses in this race. I know, Pete, you don't love like the crop in general, but in this race, I think there's a bunch of horses that can win.
Yeah.
And to me, I'd say 4 or 5 in general, I think, if you go back and watch the show. So it's going to be a lot of fun, guys. It's going to be really interesting. Let me go bring up our closing banner and wrap up the show, because we're going on an hour 15 and we have almost 600 people watching live. I mean, our viewership has been awesome. We thank you so much. We've got 2 shows. I think we have 2 live shows tomorrow. One is at 7:30 Eastern, where the 3 of us guys and Kyle Roscoe and Noah Maher will join us as hosts of the other shows to talk strictly about the Kentucky Derby. And we're going to go through pace flow, and we'll break down the race. After that, some of our younger guys who are very talented, great handicappers as well, are going to talk about how to bet the Kentucky Derby, which is a fascinating conversation, Pete and Paul, that we need to cover. I mean, you bet tries, supers. You can have all these opinions, right, Paul? But if you don't know how to bet the race, you're not going to make money. So they'll talk about how to bet the race. And then Tuesday night, we'll be focusing on the Oaks and the Oaks pick 5. And then Wednesday, we'll be focusing on the late pick 5. On Saturday, we also are going to have some taped episodes that you guys will not be involved with for the undercard races. There's a lot to talk about. So we have a lot of content.
At this rate, Pete, I would have been better off going out taking on the Kenyans in the Boston Marathon last week.
You'll be ready after this week.
Would have been less arduous, Pete.
You'll be ready after this week, man. You're going to be in tip-top shape.
You can do it, Paul. Final thoughts, Pete and Paul, on any of the 10 horses we talked about, or just anything in general?
I think the 10 we talked about are pretty intriguing, and there's some promising horses. And you could see in the chat, it's a lot of ways to go in this race. And I think the chat, and I think our conversation and the chat were proof of that.
Paul?
I would just say, Howard, in a 30-second mini rant, for those who followed, these jockeys are unbelievable. If anyone who followed Umberto Rispoli's exploits over the last 2 days, I don't know if you did, Howard, but rode Santa Anita Friday, red eye to Louisville, got in at 5 o'clock Saturday morning to work, flew across the country for a 5 furlong work. Michael McCarthy canceled the work because the track was wet. He went back to the Louisville airport, went to Atlanta to getting back to Santa Anita to ride yesterday. The flight from Atlanta to LA got canceled, so he had to be taken off his mounts, back to Louisville, worked the horse today, worked very well, flew out of Louisville again today through Houston, and I know he won at least one race at Santa Anita today, and he's headed back to Louisville for the rest of the week. But it really shows you what the Derby means, right? Manny Franco flew in from New York to work East Avenue. I mean, apparently this race is a big deal, and that's why, Pete, we have 322 shows to talk about it. But hats off to Rispoli. He gets the Hustle Award for the weekend, no doubt.
Absolutely. Everyone wants to win the Derby. Well, we hope you win the Derby with one of these top 10 horses. For my co-host, Pete Visco and Paul Harrell, and this has been your host, Howard Kravitz, HHH Racing Podcast, the Derby Top 10. Crush your bets if you like one of those top 10 horses. We'll see you tomorrow night, Monday night. Take care, everyone. Have a great evening. Bye-bye.
If you have not followed his Triple H horse racing podcast, you're missing out. It's one of the best podcasts in the country.